All right, welcome back. So, on this episode, we're going to be talking about favoritism at work and why it matters more than you think, right? So, a lot of people always think of favoritism and they think, oh, my boss likes this coworker better than me, and so forth. So, what do you think favoritism in work is, and how in your past, if any, has it showed up?
So I think favoritism is to me, it's like when someone just kisses ass. Can we say that on
You're
this?
trying to say that,
Um
but we get the gist.
yeah. So brown nosers, right? I think it's someone who has done that a lot with the boss or whoever, and they've earned special treatment because of that.
Yeah.
That's what favoritism means to me at work.
Yeah. And, it could be the people who are actually doing the most work, but not being recognized because the boss is best friends with Johnny over there. And even though Johnny's not pulling his weight, he's getting the promotions, he's getting the likes, he's getting all these things, even though he's not really doing much work. So, and to a lot of, bosses don't realize that favoritism, it doesn't just hurt people's feelings, it quietly damages people and the company on a whole. Because if I feel like I'm not being valued and you're playing favorites, and no matter how much I do, I never get recognition, then guess what's going to happen? I'm going to quit and I'm going to go find another job with somebody who appreciates me. And then there goes your bottom line. Because let's face it, everybody talks about their bottom line. And if you don't have the people to work to increase that bottom line, then you won't have a bottom line to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I have a really good example of that. I have a friend of mine. She works for a
Yeah.
company where they've hired multiple people because they're friends with this person who's an executive at the company. And all of these people, they're high paying roles, right? But they didn't perform and they've cost the company so much money that the company they missed payroll and they're like on the verge of collapse right now.
Oh, wow.
So favoritism is a really big problem. I guess what is the word for it? I guess it's favoritism and nepotism, right?
Yeah.
Hiring your friends just because they're your friends and giving them executive level positions.
Oh, yeah.
That's an extreme example, but
Yeah,
it
and
happens.
yeah, you mentioned hiring friends. I mean, you can't do that. You have to hire the most knowledgeable, the most competent people, not somebody who you like just because you like them. Likes doesn't really get things done. It's like hard work, dedication, all that stuff. Yeah, and sometimes we touch on this a little bit, but sometimes favoritism doesn't always look obvious. It, like we mentioned, it could be in the form of promotion. It could be somebody getting grace, somebody getting flexibility. Like, I want to leave, at 4:45 instead of 5 o'clock. And it's like, oh no, you can't. But Johnny gets to leave at 2 o'clock every day. you know, so
Yeah.
that's kind of how that shows up. It shows up also in like opportunities and benefits or stuff like that. So yeah, thank you for that. It does affect everyone.
It's funny because when you said Johnny gets to leave at 4:45, made
No, he
me
gets to leave at
think of
2,
like,
even though you
oh,
wanna
he
leave
gets
at
two.
4:45, 10 minutes
Oh,
before
wow.
your time, and it's a problem?
Yeah. Well, it made me think of like that old when I was in an office, people always argued that like smokers, they get their smoke breaks, but what do we get? We don't take
I know,
breaks. We don't
right? I know, right? I
there's
used to always say that too, like, "I don't smoke," and, the boss and his coworker friends are outside 50 times a day smoking up a chain, and I'm like, "I can't even get 5 minutes to go stretch my legs."
Do you remember
Oh,
that episode of Friends where like Rachel tried to pretend to be a smoker just to
yeah,
because every time the boss went to smoke, they figured something out work related?
yeah.
I don't I feel like smoking is less common these days, so it's the other way around, like, more people don't smoke, but I don't know, 10 years ago, when I
Yeah,
was
that
in the
was a
office,
thing.
there were definitely smokers.
That was a thing. I can still vividly remember working downtown Chicago and seeing my bosses and all of them just standing outside, chain smoking and complaining if I have to go to the bathroom 2 or 3 times a day. So, yes, totally get it.
Did they really complain, or did you make that up?
I mean, they didn't literally complain, but people would be like, "Oh, where's so and so?" Just the little. The bosses wouldn't complain, but people would just have these little side banter conversations about people being gone to the bathroom for too long, but they're not complaining about the boss chain smoking
Ooh,
outside.
paying
Yeah,
attention to people going to the bathroom.
I
See, this is why I don't
know,
like working in an office. No, I don't want
right?
anyone to know my schedule, my bathroom schedule.
Let's also talk about how favoritism affects employees, right? It could lead to disengagement, it could lead to burnout, and it could lead to silence, it could lead even to resentment, and finally it could lead to turnover because I can see resentment happening if I'm constantly being pushed aside and you're playing favorites because Becky's your niece and, she's family, but she doesn't do anything. She comes in late. She takes breaks constantly. And, I can see how that will lead me to want to disengage, not talk to anybody. That would make me definitely be resentful of leadership and just be like, yeah, I'm done. I'm out of here.
And the thing is, so so Becky might do a similar job to Joe, but not to Amy, right? And not to everyone else. And so you might think that it's not a big problem because only Joe has a problem with Becky, but it, and it, like, no one else is complaining. But that one person who does a similar job is
Yeah.
the one being completely disrespected by the
Oh, yeah.
favoritism. And so it does matter, even if it's just one person who has the problem.
Right, right. And I think too that people don't usually quit because of favoritism. I think they quit because your favoritism tells them that they don't matter. And so nobody wants to feel like, "Oh, I don't matter. So I'm going to quit because I don't feel valued." Not because you play favorites with Becky because I don't care now if you play favorites with someone, but I feel like if you play favorite but then totally disregard me, then that's where the problem lies.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Every employee wants to feel valued and needs to feel valued ultimately, because that will lead to them leaving. I
yeah,
mean, no one can stay at a job forever where they don't feel like the hard work that they put in equals anything except a paycheck.
right. All right. Let's quickly talk about how it hurts the company too. So, what are some of your thoughts on how you see favoritism hurting the company?
Yeah, so I think ultimately, if you're playing favorites for, because they're family, friends, or they're brown nosers, you're
Mm,
hurting the business because you're not putting the best person for the job on the job, right?
yeah,
And you're probably promoting people that shouldn't be promoted and paying them more than they should be making, which is also hurting the bottom line.
right.
So you're just losing money for the business.
Yeah. And to touch on that too, it could be legal risks too, because somebody could claim discrimination, retaliation, all that stuff, which again affects your bottom line. So there's just a barrage of problems that can come with, even if you have a favorite, you don't have to blatantly show it and just kind of like create that environment of toxicity, you know? And speaking of toxicity, speaking of that, I feel like, the common causes of that, of why people play favorite is because, well, comfort, right? They're familiar with somebody, so they're comfortable and they're like, oh, let me just gravitate towards that person. So they're comfortable. Any others you can think of?
Well, I think it's like you scratch, my back, I'll
Mm,
scratch yours. So maybe
yeah,
they've done each other favors throughout their careers. It's just like the person
true.
you reach out to,
Yeah.
the
And
boys club.
yeah, yeah. And it could also be unconscious bias too, that does happen too. Um,
Oh, that's bad. Yeah,
yeah, that is
that's
bad.
not good.
And it could also be, again, like I said, comfort level because you feel like you're so comfortable with Johnny that you don't have to have those hard conversations with him about his quality of work. So it gives you a pass as a manager from facing reality versus if you don't have a conversation with someone, you could just go hard on them. So, several things happen.
Yeah. So how can you make sure you do get the like, say you have a friend and you have another person who you don't know and they're competing for it, and your friend is actually the better person for the job, like, how do you determine that?
Well, for me, I think what I would do is kind of just have like clear roles and goals and metrics so that I give both people equal opportunity. I'm not going to give my friend more information than I would give the other people. It should be a level playing field, equal playing field for everybody. And so let the better man win, right? Based on your competency. So again, it's just having clear roles and goals for everybody to follow. Um, also think that if we have like consistent feedback, across the team, being transparent with them, that gives everybody equal footing and not just somebody feel like, oh yeah, she got the job, she got the promotion because she's friends with Shauna. No, you are all both on the same playing field. It's like who put in the most effort, who put in the most, I guess, energy to want the job. That's who I'm gonna go with. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, love it. All right. So, um, if you're a leader, what can you do? You can ask yourself, who gets the benefit of the doubt? Who am I intentionally overlooking? So those are some of the things because as a leader, you want to make sure that you're not playing favoritism. So ask yourself those questions and really look inside and see if that is you. If you're an employee, your reaction to favoritism is information, right? It's not weakness. Culture isn't created by big statements. It's created by repeated everyday decisions. So how you run your business, how you show up is how the culture is going to look like. You can't expect to create favoritism and a culture of friends and then expect to have an organization that has good morals, good culture, all of that. It's kind of what you create, so you have to set the bar for that, right?
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, it's good points.
Yeah. And so my final takeaway for this too is I feel like when people believe they matter, they give more. I mean, if I feel like you value me, I'm going to work hard. And if I feel like, I can just show up all blase, then that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So there goes our topic on favoritism. And I hope that you're not playing favorites with your staff. And if you are an employee who you've noticed in your company, favoritism is happening with other people, you got to ask yourself those tough questions. Is this somewhere I want to be? Or can you go and talk to your superior about what you are experiencing? And if they're willing and open to listen to you and make changes, great. But if they're not, you might want to consider where you call work home. Until next time, take care, and we'll see you on another episode of Brandon Beck.
Thanks, everyone.